I still can't believe what we witnessed this summer. Maybe the greatest player we've ever seen, his son comes into the NBA, and now they're on the same squad. I've never seen anything like this. We're talking about Bronny James, son of LeBron James. You know that guy who's been dominating the NBA for 2 decades? Yeah, him. Now his kid is in the league, and it's causing more buzz than I've ever heard, starting off with that draft pick. 55th overall, that's deep in the second round, where dreams usually go to die, but not for Bronny. He's basically the NBA's version of a royal baby, and now we're on the verge of seeing the first father-son duo play together in the NBA. It's like the basketball version of Take Your Kid to Work Day, except work is playing in the freaking NBA. Now I know what you're thinking. Is this just nepotism gone wild? Well, yeah, kinda. But let's not act like the NBA hasn't been a family business for years. We've had more basketball dynasties than ancient Egypt had pharaohs, the Currys, the Barrys, the Waltons, the list goes on. But this is next level. So let's go deep into the Bronny James saga. We're talking stats, we're talking potential, we're talking about whether this kid can live up to the hype or if he'll end up as the NBA's most famous bench warmer. On October 6th, 2004, while most of us were worried about our MySpace top 8, LeBron James was becoming a dad. Bronny James entered the world when his dad was barely old enough to rent a car. LeBron was 19. Little Bronny wasn't just a one-trick pony. This kid was all over the place. Basketball, soccer, you name it. Papa James put his foot down when it came to football and hockey. Can you blame him? LeBron probably had visions of Bronny getting tackled or checked into the boards. No thanks. By the time Bronny hit double digits, he was already breaking the internet. At 10 years old, this kid had highlight reels that would make some college players jealous. We're talking viral videos, national attention, the whole shebang. Most of us were still figuring out long division at that age, but Bronny, he was crossing up kids left and right. Talk about peaking early. From the Miami City Ballers to the Gulf Coast Blue Chips, Bronny was all over the news in youth basketball circles. He was like a mini celebrity, complete with the famous last name and the skills to back it up. It's like he was born with a basketball in his hands, which isn't that far off if you really think about it. Picture a high school that's more like a Hollywood set than a place of learning. That's Sierra Canyon. It's where the children of celebrities go to pretend they're just like us regular folk, except, you know, with better cars and more Instagram followers. When Bronny rolled up to Sierra Canyon, it was like the red carpet had been rolled out. Paparazzi started camping outside the school gates, hoping to catch a glimpse of LeBron's heir apparent. Poor kid probably couldn't even go to the bathroom without someone live tweeting about it. November 21st, 2019. Mark it down. That's the day Bronny James made his high school debut, and boy, did he make a splash. Coming off the bench like a seasoned pro, he dropped 10 points pretty fast. His first bucket, a sweet three-pointer that had the crowd going wild. 4.1 points per game though, that's it. But you still have to remember, this isn't your average nameless freshman we're talking about. This is Bronny James, playing for one of the most stacked high school teams in the country. Let's put this in perspective. Bronny was the only player on the team to appear in all 34 games that season. That's right, while his teammates were busy with load management, our boy Bronny was showing up day in, day out. And here's another fun fact for you. Bronny's 4.1 points in 15 minutes per game isn't too shabby when you compare it to some other late second round picks in their freshman year of college. Take Isaiah Wong, the 55th pick in 2023. He averaged 7.7 points in 25 minutes per game as a freshman. Bronny's per minute production isn't far off, and he was doing it 3 years younger. But let's be real, the hype around Bronny wasn't about the stats. It was about the name on the back of his jersey, the genes in his DNA, and the potential that had scouts drooling. Every time he stepped on the court, it was like watching a movie trailer for LeBron the next generation. So while 4.1 points might not sound like much, remember Six like, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither are NBA superstars. Bronny was just getting started, and the basketball world was watching with bated breath. Moving on to Bronny's sophomore year, the one that had more drama than a reality TV show. Our boy Bronny suffered a meniscus tear early in the season. For those of you who don't speak sports injury, that's basically like trying to play basketball with a rubber band for a knee. Despite Bronny being sidelined, Sierra Canyon didn't exactly fall apart. They managed to rack up a 16-2 record. That's like losing your star player and still winning the popularity contest. Not too shabby for a comeback season, right? Fast forward to junior year, where Bronny decided to remind everyone why his last name is James. He averaged 8.8 points, 3.3 rebounds, 2.8 assists, not exactly breaking the internet numbers, but still baby steps. Bronny's defensive intensity. It's like watching a mini LeBron out there, minus the receding hairline. The kid's got quick hands, great instincts, and a knack for being in the right place at the right time. Like father, like son. Senior year rolled around, and Bronny decided to supersize his game. He earned a spot in the McDonald's All-American game, possibly the only Happy Meal worth bragging about. As for his recruit ranking, Bronny secured a solid 4-star status. Not quite 5 stars, but hey, who's counting? Spoiler alert, everyone is. He ended up as the 26th ranked prospect in the 2023 class. Not bad for a kid who's been under a microscope since he could dribble. In the end, Bronny's high school career was like a roller coaster. Some ups, some downs, and a whole lot of people watching and screaming. But unlike most roller coasters, this one ended with a McDonald's All-American nod and a ticket to the next level. When it came time for Bronny to choose his college, the basketball world held its collective breath. Would he follow in his father's footsteps and go straight to the pros? Would he join a blue blood program? On May 6th, 2023, Bronny dropped a bombshell on Instagram that had Ohio State fans crying into their Buckeye-shaped cookies. Our boy decided to take his talents to USC, staying close to home and just a stone's throw away from the Crypto.com arena where Papa LeBron balls out for the Lakers. Still, keeping it in the family, USC wasn't just getting Bronny, they were getting a whole media circus. It's like they won the lottery, but instead of cash, they got cameras and reporters camping outside their gym. Bronny joined a USC recruiting class that was already more stacked than a Jenga tower, with Isaiah Collier, the #1 ranked prospect, and Arrington Page. It's like USC was building its own basketball Avengers. The most intriguing part of Bronny's recruitment was how quiet it was. No leaked offers, no dramatic official visits. It was so hush-hush, you'd think he was joining the CIA, not a college basketball team. And despite the Nike connection with Oregon, Bronny chose USC. Guess the swoosh wasn't enough to sway him. Sorry, Phil Knight, but just when we thought the Bronny saga couldn't get any more dramatic, life threw us a curveball that nobody saw coming. On July 24th, 2023, during a routine practice at USC, Bronny James suffered a cardiac arrest. The basketball world held its breath. It happened during a workout at USC's Galen Center. 1 minute he's running drills, the next minute he's being rushed to the hospital. Talk about a wake-up call. USC's medical staff sprung into action faster than LeBron on a fast break. Their quick response likely saved Bronny's life. Turns out Bronny has a congenital heart defect, but in true James family fashion, Bronny bounced back. He was out of the hospital in 3 days. That's less time than it takes most of us to recover from a weekend binge-watching session. The James family says Bronny's on track for a full recovery and will play again. This whole ordeal was a stark reminder that beneath the fame, the hype, and the expectations, Bronny's just a kid with a superhuman dad and more pressure than a deep-sea submarine. Sure, but still a kid. It humanized him in a way that no amount of missed shots or bad games ever could. In the end, this scare did what no defender could do. It stopped Bronny in his tracks. But like a true James, he's bouncing back. It's not the start to his college career that anyone expected. But hey, since when have the James men ever done anything by the book? Anyways, Game 1, the debut dud. Bronny's first taste of NBA action was about as appetizing as a kale smoothie. He went 0 for 7 from the field, including a painful 0 for 4 from downtown. Fans were left wondering if he'd forgotten his shooting touch back in college. But hey, even Michael Jordan had bad games, right? Probably not this bad, but let's roll with it. Game 2, the sophomore slump. Just when we thought it couldn't get worse, Bronny said, "Hold my Gatorade," another goose egg from three-point land, finishing 1 for 5 overall. At this point, Lakers fans were Googling how to build a time machine to go back and undo this draft pick. But now, Game 3, the glimmer of hope. Finally, a sign of life. Bronny knocked down his first three-pointer, finishing with 8 points. It wasn't exactly Steph Curry numbers, but after the first 2 games, it felt like he'd just won Finals MVP. Here's Game 4, though, the defensive showcase. Bronny decided to channel his inner Gary Payton, racking up 3 steals and generally being a pest on defense. His shot was still on vacation, but hey, at least he was contributing something other than air balls. Well, what about Game 5, the breakout game? Here we see Bronny explode for 12 points on 5 of 11 shooting. He even hit 2 3-pointers, proving that the rim isn't always his sworn enemy. Lakers fans breathed a collective sigh of relief, while the haters suddenly found their Twitter accounts mysteriously deactivated. Anyways, Game 6, the grand finale. Bronny saved the best for last, dropping 13 points against the Cavs. He was dishing dimes, grabbing boards, and even swatted 2 shots. When the dust settled, Bronny's final stats read like a solid B- student's report card: 8.8 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 1.0 assists per game. Not exactly earth-shattering, but considering where he started, it was like watching a caterpillar transform into, well, maybe not a butterfly, but at least a moth with potential. The good, his defense showed flashes of brilliance, and by the end, he remembered which part of the ball goes through the hoop. The bad? Those first few games were rougher than sandpaper underwear. The he's still learning moments? Pretty much everything in between. But at least Bronny showed improvement. He didn't curl up into a ball and call for his dad after those rough first games. He kept pushing, kept learning, and by the end, he looked like he might actually belong on an NBA court. And in the grand scheme of things, for a 55th pick, that's not too shabby. So, was it a summer league for the ages? Not unless you consider ages to mean I aged 10 years watching those first few games. But was it a complete disaster? Far from it. Bronny James showed us all that he's got some fight in him, a dash of that James family magic, and most importantly, room to grow. And in the NBA, sometimes that's all you need to turn potential into stardom, or at least into a solid bench player. So, there we were, deep into the second round of the draft. Most fans had switched to watching paint dry by this point, but then, boom, the Lakers snagged Bronny James with the 55th pick. Absolute plot twist? Now, let's be real for a second. Is this a steal, or is it nepotism on steroids? Well, it depends on who you ask. If you're a Lakers fan, you're probably convinced they just pulled off the heist of the century. We got LeBron's son for practically nothing. But if you're, literally anyone else, you might be rolling your eyes so hard they're in danger of getting stuck. Let's face it, folks. If Bronny's last name was Smith instead of James, he'd probably be fighting fighting for a spot in the G League right now. But hey, when your dad's the GOAT, or at least in the conversation, doors tend to open a little wider. It's like the NBA's version of Bring Your Kid to Work Day, except this kid gets a multi-million-dollar contract. Speaking of contracts, let's talk about that sweet cash. Bronny just signed a 4-year, $7.9 million deal with the Lakers. Not too shabby for a guy who still get carded at R-rated movies. To put this in perspective, most 55th picks are lucky if they get a bag of chips and a pat on the back. But Bronny? He's got generational wealth before he can legally buy a beer. It's like he won the lottery, except his winning ticket was his birth certificate. Now, some might say this is excessive for an unproven player. But let's be honest, if you had the chance to make LeBron James happy and potentially keep him around for a few more years, wouldn't you open up the checkbook too? It's not like the Lakers are known for their frugality anyway. This is the team that once gave Timofey Mozgov $64 million. Compared to that, Bronny's contract is practically pocket change. Now, don't expect to see Bronny lighting up Crypto.com arena right away. The Lakers have a plan, and that plan involves a little detour to the G League. That's right, Bronny's first stop on his journey to NBA stardom is South Bay. Not exactly Hollywood, but hey, you gotta start somewhere. The G League is like the NBA's version of a crock pot. You throw in some raw talent, let it simmer for a while, and hope it comes out as a fully formed NBA player. It's where stars are born, or at least where they learn how to tie their own shoelaces without an entourage. For Bronny, this is probably a good thing. He can develop his skills away from the intense spotlight of the NBA, plus, he'll get to experience the glamorous life of long bus rides and playing in half-empty arenas. It's character building, really. The Lakers are committed to Bronny's development, and they're not rushing things. They've got a comprehensive plan that includes everything from skill development to nutrition. It's like they're raising a prized racehorse, except this one can dunk. So, while LeBron is busy chasing rings, and father time, Bronny will be honing his craft in the G League. And who knows, maybe in a few years, we'll see the James duo lighting up the NBA together. Or maybe Bronny will become the world's most expensive bench warmer. Either way, it's going to be one interesting ride to watch. I mean, imagine having your dad as your co-worker. So, you're at your first day on the job, nervous as hell, and suddenly your dad walks in. But he's not just any dad, he's LeBron freaking James. Now, we've seen father-son duos in sports before, but this is different. LeBron isn't just Bronny's dad, he's a living legend, the guy who's been dominating the NBA since Bronny was in diapers. It's like having your old man be both your co-worker and your boss, while also being the GOAT of your entire industry. LeBron's not just any dad, he's been Bronny's biggest cheerleader since day one. Remember when he tweeted that Bronny was better than some current NBA players? Talk about hyping up your kid. It's like when your dad brags about your macaroni art at the office. Except the office is the entire NBA, and the macaroni art is worth millions. The dynamic between these two is fascinating. On one hand, you've got LeBron, who's probably itching to give Bronny advice on everything from his jump shot to his jersey tucking technique. On the other hand, you've got Bronny, who's trying to carve out his own identity while playing in the shadow of a giant, literally and figuratively. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or should we say, the crown on Bronny's head. Being a James in the NBA is like being a Kardashian in Hollywood. It opens doors, sure, but it also comes with a truckload of expectations and scrutiny. On the plus side, Bronny's got instant name recognition. He doesn't need to introduce himself, his last name does all the talking. He's got access to the best training, the best facilities, and probably the best dad jokes in the league. Not to mention, he's got a built-in mentor who knows the ins and outs of the NBA better than anyone. But here's the flip side. Every move Bronny makes is under a microscope. If he scores 20 points, people will say, well, he's no LeBron. If he has a bad game, Twitter will explode with hot takes faster than you can say, the decision. The kid can't even grab a burger without it making headlines. Bronny himself has been candid about the pressure. In an interview, he admitted, it's tough. A lot of criticism gets thrown my way, but you know I got to deal with it. It's like he's playing on expert mode while everyone else is on rookie. And the poor kid is just 19. But let's be real, this pressure isn't just coming from outside. LeBron's made no secret of his dream to play alongside his son. It's sweet, sure, but it's also added a whole new level of expectation. It's like your dad telling everyone at the family barbecue that you're going to be the next Einstein. In the end, the LeBron factor is a double-edged sword. It's given Bronny opportunities most kids could only dream of, but it's also put him under a spotlight so bright it could probably be seen from space. Stepping into the NBA court, little Bronny is not just carrying a basketball. He's carrying the weight of one of the greatest legacies in sports history. But hey, no pressure. It's just basketball, right? Let's dust off our crystal balls and try to predict Bronny's future, because everyone is clearly an expert on this topic right now. First things first, Bronny's not exactly setting the world on fire with his stats. We're talking 8.8 points per game in Summer League. That's not exactly next LeBron territory. It's more like maybe he'll make the team territory. But here's the thing, Bronny's got something that most late second round picks don't have: time and resources. The Lakers aren't expecting him to be the next Kobe Bryant overnight. Instead, they're picking the long game and hoping to win. Think about it. Bronny's got access to some of the best training facilities in the world, not to mention a personal coach who just happens to be one of the greatest players of all time. Oh, and did we mention that Coach is his dad? Now, we're not saying Bronny's going to suddenly transform into an all-star, but let's not write him off just yet. Remember, remember, Kyle Lowry was a late first-round pick who didn't break out until his 7th season. Draymond Green was a second-round pick who became a key piece of a dynasty. Heck, Nikola Jokic was drafted 41st overall, and look at him now. The point is, Bronny's trajectory is about as predictable as a game of Monopoly with your most competitive relatives. It could go anywhere from solid role player to surprise star to high-profile bench warmer. Only time will tell. Now let's talk about the real reason we're all here, the possibility of seeing LeBron and Bronny on the court together. It's like the NBA's version of take your dad to work day, except dad can still 360 dunk on your co-workers. This isn't just a pipe dream. LeBron has been vocal about wanting to play with his son since Bronny was probably still learning to tie his shoes. And now, it's closer to reality than ever. Imagine the scene. LeBron, in his 21st NBA season, dishes a no-look pass to Bronny for a corner three. The crowd goes wild. Twitter explodes. Skip Bayless spontaneously combusts. It's the stuff of Hollywood scripts. But let's pump the brakes for a second. As cool as this father-son duo would be, it's not without its challenges. For one, LeBron isn't getting any younger. He's defied father time so far, but even he can't play forever. The clock is ticking on this dream. Then, there's the question of Bronny's readiness. Will he be able to contribute at an NBA level in time to share the court with his dad? Or will we see a lot of garbage time minutes just to make it happen? And let's not forget the potential awkwardness. Imagine trying to assert yourself as a player when your dad is not just on the team, but is literally one of the greatest to ever do it. Talk about living in a shadow, or eventually being one. But you know what? Even if it's just for a few minutes in a blowout game, seeing LeBron and Bronny on the court together would be historic. It would be a moment that transcends sports, a testament to legacy and family that we've never seen before in the NBA. So, while Bronny's future might be as clear as a foggy day in London, one thing's for sure, we're all going to be watching. Whether he becomes a star in his own right, or just the answer to a trivia question, Bronny James is going to be a part of NBA history. And who knows, maybe one day we'll see him passing the ball to his own kid, continuing the James dynasty for another generation. Let's wrap this up with a bow and talk about the Bronny effect. Bronny's presence in the NBA isn't just about his skills, which, let's be honest, are still a work in progress. It's about the seismic shift he's causing in the league's tectonic plates. We're talking about a potential father-son duo that could make the Griffies look like a Little League act. But it's not just about the James family reunion tour. Bronny's journey is shining a spotlight on the developmental aspects of the NBA. We're seeing a renewed focus on the G League, on nurturing raw talent, on the long game of player development. It's like the NBA suddenly remembered that not every rookie comes out of the draft fully formed like a basketball Athena. And let's not forget the marketing potential. Bronny jerseys are going to fly off the shelves faster than free tacos at a college dorm. We're talking about a brand that was built before the kid could even dribble, basically born with a Nike swoosh for a birthmark. Back with gazing into our crystal basketball and looking at what the future holds for our young prince. Bronny James, first of his name, heir to the throne of Akron, protector of the realm of Los Angeles, and potential drainer of threes. Will he live up to the hype? Will he carve out his own legacy? Or will he be forever known as LeBron's kid? The truth is, only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, this kid's got a path ahead of him that's more pressure-packed than a NASA space shuttle launch. Bronny's got something that no other NBA rookie has ever had. A front row seat to greatness from day one. He's been studying at the University of LeBron his whole life. While other kids were learning their ABCs, Bronny was learning how to read defenses and perfect his court vision. And let's not underestimate the power of the James genes. If even a fraction of LeBron's basketball IQ, work ethic, and physical gifts have been passed down, we might be looking at a future all-star. Basic Darwinism in action, but perhaps the most exciting thing about Bronny's future is the unknown. Will he develop into a sharpshooting guard, a defensive specialist, a playmaking point guard, or will he forge a completely new path that we can't even imagine yet? The Bronny James era is just beginning, and if it's anything like his old man's career, we're in for one hell of a ride. Who knows? In 20 years, we might be sitting here talking about Bronny's kid entering the draft.